Hello all benders and non-benders, and welcome back to Avatar Generations. Today we are going to be going over the new Four Nations Earth event, otherwise known as Earthbenders just never lose. They never lose. They are the favorite faction of this game, period. Just period. So yeah, we're just going to get right into it here. It is pretty simple, but also very important when we take a look at the summoning event that is currently available. Of course, as always, we get our login bonus here, 50 nature stones, a few summon tickets, and then capping off with a support ticket. Never a bad thing. Now then, this section is actually going to be a little bit shorter because there are not actually any new event quests this time around. Usually there has been. This time around, they're not giving anything new. They're just leaving the current existing three, all of which end in 6 days, which is pretty interesting to keep in mind. As the time of uploading this, probably gonna be more like 5 days, but just something interesting to keep in mind there. Just kind of something to keep an eye on. Yeah. So nothing crazy there, nothing in the event shop, but we do have a few just featured items in the summon shop here. If you have an excess of duplicate 4-star coins, we do have this 5-star golden seal of the flying boar you can get. Always nice. And then we do of course have a few copies of this platypus bear that you can get. Keep in mind the platypus bear is a 4-star, so he's not the rarest thing in the world. But you do also have the golden seal of the flying boar here, being a 5-star, a little more rare, so something to keep in mind if that's something you feel like your team needs. Of course, just keep in mind that you can also use your currency on these items here, so just kind of keep in mind whether or not you feel like that is worth it to you. So yeah, that's all that is to show there. Nothing crazy going on there, which is just fine because we've got plenty of craziness to look at in the Four Nations Earth banner. Now, we've had two of these so far. We've had a water version and we've had an air version. My opinion of the water version was to not summon on it, which is an opinion that aged really poorly with the arrival of Arena, because offensive Katara and Paku really came into themselves when Arena was announced. And then on the Air Nation event, I also recommended to probably skip it. That one I'm feeling like I was right on. Now, this one, I feel like I'm going to be correct in saying that this is not a banner that should be easily passed up on. The reason I say that is both of the characters are absolutely fantastic in Arena and in the Boomy boss fight. If you're having trouble with Stage 5 Boomy, Xinfu is a fantastic character to up your damage. And Toph here, it doesn't exactly slack either, but let's actually get into it and get into details here of what we're looking at. We have 5 featured items, 2 characters in Toph and Xinfu, 1 Badger Mole for your supports, and then 2 relics, a Mural of the 5, which is exclusive to this banner, and then the Champion's Belt. So, if we take a look at Toph here, she is a 5-star offensive hero, and she has some abilities here. Looking at her basic, we have Fault Line, deals impairing damage to one enemy and any backline opponents, meaning she will always hit the back line. If you've played an arena against this character, you might notice that your backline takes a surprising amount of damage against her, and then it will randomly decrease their speed for 1 turn, focus, or turn bar. A turn bar especially would be really helpful. So she can do some pretty cool stuff with that. And then taking a look at her advanced here, Tectonic Rift deals knockdown damage to all enemies and steals 10 turn bar from each enemy hit. Knockdown damage being a 35% chance to knock down the enemy, and that chance goes up to 100% if they are inflicted with an elemental effect that matches the casters, in this case being, of course, the Earth element. You can already see how this can get pretty crazy if you do pair this character with someone like Boomy, who is very good at applying that Earth element. And then if we take a look at her very cool passive here, dodge one enemy's attack, just straight up dodge it, and increase the caster's turn bar by 5%, which I imagine would go up on skill ups, unless the attack is air element. So basically, once every other turn or so, she'll just straight up dodge an attack and get turn bar. Just not even have to worry about it. Again, yet another thing that has had some devastating effect in Arena. You try to hit that Toph, she just dodges and comes right back at you. So, a very cool character. And then we got to look at the Master of Arena here, kind of appropriately, all things considered, Zinfu. His basic here deals resilient damage to one enemy, meaning it scales on his defense, and this damage ignores all damage reduction effects. So a lot of characters might have damage reduction in their skill mastery. I know Suki's an example of this. He's just going to ignore that. He doesn't care. And then looking at his advanced Bombard, he deals resilient damage to the front line, back line, and 2 random enemies. Notice this is not an AoE. It's basically a 4-hit move that will always hit the front line, always hit the back line, and may hit the sides or might hit the front line or back line again. Kind of a weird little thing there where it sounds like it's an AoE, but it's technically not. Just kind of something to keep in mind there. And then this is what makes him so nuts. Inflict a bounty on the enemy with the highest defense at the start of your turn for 1 turn. Gain increased defense for 1 turn when Hardened Stance, which he does get here. Hardened Stance comes from his advance. And what Bounty does is that enemy with Bounty takes additional penetrating damage that ignores defense when attacked by Hunter faction enemies, and it blocks their healing. It just does so much damage. Basically, if you've seen this guy in Arena, you know just how much damage this can do. At the moment, I know we have him as a Hunter faction. I'm not aware if we have any other Hunter characters, but if we ever do, they will pair nicely with him, and even on his own, he already uses it to frightening effect. So 2 fantastic characters there. Of course, we have the Badger Mole, increases HP of Earth Element heroes. Very good if you're running Boomy as kind of your main damage dealer. Can make him not only bulkier, but also do even more damage. And then we do have 2 relics here. Mural of the 5. This one is exclusive to this banner, so kind of keep that in mind. Increase the damage from critical attacks that enemies take from all sources by 10% for 1 turn if they're inflicted with the Earth Element when the caster attacks. This is basically a straight up damage boost against enemies if they're inflicted with that Earth Element. Stacks up to 3 times per turn, so if you do inflict more than 1 Earth Element, this will basically go up, I believe, if I'm reading that correctly. A great damage and support relic, because not only does it increase the damage you're doing, but it increases the damage for your whole team. If you read it there, it says any source. Meaning if you've got a Fire Nation Zuko who's critting like crazy, he'll do more damage too, as if he needed to do more damage. So not a bad relic at all. If you're summoning for these 2 and you get this as a consolation prize, not bad at all. And then we do have the Champion's Belt. I have briefly talked about this before. Very cool effect here. Permanently increased damage dealt by 15% when you defeat an enemy. And that works on competitor characters. So very cool item here. As long as you're getting those kills, you're getting a damage boost. So yeah, that is the breakdown of this banner. It's pretty good, especially considering the current meta of Arena. It's pretty good, and I don't think these guys are going away anytime soon. We did get some insight on the balance changes coming, and if I'm reading them correctly, I didn't see Zinfu and Toph really hit at all. In fact, I think Toph got a little bit of a buff. So these characters will serve you very well in Arena, even if you're not worried about Arena. Some would say that Zinfu is borderline required for any kind of consistency in the Stage 5 Boomy fight. So even if you're just focusing on PvE, they could serve you very well there as well. So yeah, I think I'm gonna be summoning on this one. I've got no shortage of tickets, and I have neither of these characters, and I would really love to play around with them. So yeah, look forward to that in the very near future. So hope y'all have enjoyed this video. Let me know if you plan on summoning on these very powerful Earthbenders. The Earthbender faction is just nuts at this point. But until that summoning video, we shall see you in the next video. Have a good one.